What's up, guys? Tim Little, Matt Allen. Welcome back to TacticalBassin, and welcome back for another episode of our 2025 Fall Buyer's Guide series. Today's video, we are talking everything bait finesse. We are excited to get this bait finesse video kicked off. We are nearing the end of the buyer's guides, but we've got another one for you tomorrow. Today we are talking bait finesse. Remember, if you missed yesterday's video, you should go back, check that out. That was hard baits, but hard baits are on sale right now, which includes all these bait finesse hard baits. So we're gonna dive into this category, and then towards the end, we'll talk soft baits. They're not on sale right now, but how are we gonna talk bait finesse and not talk some soft baits? Anything you wanna add?
Nope, go for it.
Well, all right, let's get this thing kicked off. Jumping into it, right out the gate, if you are going to talk bait finesse and you are not going to talk karashi, what is wrong with you? Seriously, that bait right there, the Megabass Karashi, has become one of the hottest baits on the planet, bait finesse or not. Just plain one of the hottest baits out there. Its ability to catch fish that don't want to bite, fish that are finicky. If they're up shallow and they're not reacting, they will mow down a karashi. It's amazing how well that bait works. It is probably the single most important bait. When we talk bait finesse, we're always talking about how fun it is. Whether you're on a lake that's got giant fish and they're in a bad mood, or you live in a place where there are no big fish and you just want to have a good time, bait finesse will help you do that. It makes fishing more fun. The karashi is the #1 bait where you can truly experience that, where you're working that bait fast and the fish come up near surface where you can see them and they're eating and spinning around and eating again and reacting, and it's the visual portion of that is amazing. It is one of the most fun things that you can do with a little bait caster. And frankly, you can do it with spinning gear too. All right, we're starting out with sort of the baits that didn't have a category. I've got two more for you. From Bait Sanity, in their simple bait line, we've got these tiny little guys right here. This is the world's smallest glide bait, and this is the world's smallest crankdown swim bait. These two baits are a riot on this tackle. The first time I saw them, I saw that they had one hook on them, and I thought, oh, I don't know how that hookup ratio is going to be. About the 15th fish in a row that just choked it, I realized what is wrong with me. It is a 2-inch glide bait. They are going to swallow that thing. It's amazing how they just come out of the woodwork and smoke it. You can just do the slow roll, just creep it, and it's got its little swim. Or you can get super reactive and twitching it and working it, and they just come unglued on it. Either way is super fun. And then the crank down, it's got more of that traditional, you can feel it there on the end of the rod, thumping as that thing's swimming just under the surface. And same thing, these are baits in a size class that bass are not used to seeing. So bass that are pressured, bass that have got their guard up, you come along throwing a tiny little minnow, that has always been a safe size for them to eat. They do not second guess it, and they unload on these little baits.
Yeah, he literally just took the words out of my mouth. Isn't it crazy that we're talking about a 2-inch glide bait? We've come so far in bass fishing that these fish feel safe to eat this stuff. They haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So that is the deal with bait finesse. Some of you guys are like, why the heck would you ever throw an 1.5 or 2-inch glide bait? Like, why?
Right.
But the fish eat it, right? We're fishing, we're trying to catch fish. And it's not just catching fish, like Matt talked about, seeing these fish climb over each other and hit that bait over and over and over again and 360 and eat it. It's just,
yeah.
Fish react different to this stuff. It's safe is a great word. They don't think twice. They just eat it, and that's what's really cool. So we're talking about downsizing baits in every category.
Let me show this. This is the 2.75 swammer, because you see a glide bait or a little swim bait, and
they
your
probably can't
brain,
even see that in the camera. We'll leave links down below, just like every video, down in the video description. Click on the link, goes right to Tackle Warehouse. You'll see HD pictures up close of that little guy right there.
Yes.
It is tiny, tiny. All right, let's talk topwater. So we kind of talked about the importance of downsizing and matching the bait fish size, the safe bait fish size, The same thing applies to all these categories, but now we're talking about topwater. There are days that fish won't eat a full-size walking bait. So we have 2 walking baits here for you. And again, the benefit of bait finesse is you're throwing these techniques on a bait caster. Even though you're downsizing that profile, that presentation, you're throwing it on downsized line, 5, 6, 8 pound, 7, 8 pound test, but you're throwing it on a bait caster. And that allows you to make the same roll cast, the same flips and pitches, and work the bait the same as you would on your full-sized bait caster, right? All right, so the first one up right here, we have the Zip and Ziggy. As you can see, these are downsized topwaters. Real quick walking, real, you can get real twitchy with it and get it really zipping and ziggy, right? Zipping around and zigging around.
Yeah.
But all that to say, these fish have seen a lot of 100 to 150 size walking baits. Yeah. They have not seen baits this small. And when you go out to your pressured fishery and they're eating topwater, but they're kind of just eating the back hook, or they're just slapping at it, or they're even just hitting it. You ever seen a bass hit a bait with its mouth closed and just slap it?
Just porpoise and blow the bait away?
When you need to change up sizes, these guys are awesome. Next up, this guy right here, Megabass. That is the Dog X Junior. That is a very, very finessey, subtle topwater, fairly quiet, but again, it has that real nice walk to it. And when those fish are feeling pressured with those shower blows, those 105s, or the Vixens, or your traditional larger, louder topwaters, give this guy a try, these 2 guys a try, because they will eat it when they won't eat those larger topwaters.
Totally. All right, I'm going to do a couple more of those sort of uncategorizable baits, if you will. The first one is a Spybait. This little guy from Duo Realis, the Spinbait series. We do entire videos dedicated to Spybait fishing, both teaching about it and just going out and slinging those things because they work so well. This is the smallest size they make. That's the Spinbait 70. And that bait right there is a dream on bait finesse. We were talking the other day about the difference between Americanized bait finesse and JDM bait finesse, where the Americanized bait finesse is leaning more towards like, how far can I cast an ultralight bait? Because with some of these, you can outcast spinning tackle. You really can. You can throw farther. The Spinbait 70 is in that Americanized bait finesse category. If you want to cover water, you can take a Spinbait 70 on a BFS reel and dump the spool. If you're out on flats and you're just covering water, I don't know that there's a faster way, except maybe what Tim is holding over there, to cover that water. That is such a fun bait on bait finesse. And then this guy right here, also a duo bait actually, this is the Mito Pico. This little guy came out earlier this year. We've done a handful of videos. You might have seen it in some shorts where I'm shaking that bait finesse rod just as hard as I can shake it. This is such a unique bait because it's the strolling thing that has exploded. The jig and minnow, ping and a minnow, whatever you want to call it. Working those soft baits. This is a hard bait in that same category. So you can be super subtle with it and it will give you that body rock. You've got a tail treble for those short biters, and then you've got this swinging, but it's magnetized to hold in place, a little top hook as well. If you're subtle with it, it's got the body rock. If you're aggressive with it, it's got this vertical hinge as well, and it is just jumping through the water, and they tag it. It is a really, really fun bait. I had fish chasing bait, but I couldn't get them to react. I wasn't matching their size or the speed or something, and I threw that on bait finesse, just whipping that rod. That thing's just popping in the, probably 3 to 5 feet below the surface, but super aggressive. And none of those fish were saying no. They were unloading on that thing.
All right, next up, I'm sticking with topwater. Have 2 little poppers for you. Now, I just talked about the walking baits. Now we're talking about the popper. So say you're fishing a laydown, or you're fishing a certain piece of cover, right? You're making those casts to that isolated piece of cover, and you want that bait to stay in that strike zone, that area. You're not covering a lot of water like you would with those walking baits. The popper, little bloop, 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 let it sit there. I haven't found 2 better baits for bait finesse than these guys right here. This is the Megabass. That's the Baby Pop X. That thing is tiny. Again, with Megabass, you're getting the same colors you get in your favorite Pop Maxes or your Vision 110s. You know, they have amazing colors. But that little guy right there, you talk about a safe size. How many bait fish have you seen swimming around your fisheries in these sizes right here? There's so many fish, little bait fish swimming around that size right there. So that guy right there is an awesome little popper, still a little blooping, walking. And if you want to downsize even farther, this microscopic guy right here, this is the Oompa. That's from Demiki. That's an Oompa 40. That thing is tiny. You want to talk about, I mean,
it's micro.
That thing is tiny compared to a little 2.75 swammer. But again, having the ability to cast a bait like this on a bait caster, work it, same muscle memory as you do on your larger topwater baits, and then have these fish eat it. It's just so cool. But that little Oompa 40 is a little tiny popper. And I mean, we're talking crappie and panfish and all of those
everything eats it.
Species eat these little guys right here.
All right, let's talk jerkbaits. And it's sort of fascinating because 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were in this discovery phase of bait finesse, right? We're like, oh, we could throw a jerkbait on this too. Oh, we could throw a walking bait on this too. Exploring all these things. And now we're like, all right, I got a jerkbait lineup. I got a jerkbait for this. I got a jerkbait for that. But that's really what it's become. You can dial in. You can be as basic with bait finesse. And again, you can throw all this on spinning too if you prefer. But you can be as basic with this downsized presentation as you would like. Or you can go down the rabbit hole. So we've got 4 jerkbaits for you. The first one is from Megabass. This is the X80 Junior. The X80 is a great, aggressive, consistent, hard reacting jerkbait. It's a very tall profile. It's very shad-like. When they're chasing thread fins, I don't know that there is a better bait. They absolutely just club that thing. 2 more from Duo Realis. We've got 2 sizes here, okay? This is the Rosante 63 SP. That is probably the most universal of all the jerkbaits. Like if you're just tying on a jerkbait to go fishing, like if we were talking big jerkbaits, this would be the like Vision 110 Matte Shad, where we're like, if you're just gonna try one, throw that one in that color. If you're just going to try one, it's that Duo Realis 63 SP in a Ghost Minnow type color. Going smaller and deeper, we have its little brother, the 57, but in the MR, the deeper runner, that medium runner. That bait is so small, but because it's got that larger lip, it doesn't fish micro. You can still whack, whack. You can really work that bait. You can be aggressive with it, and it is a fish catcher. And then last but not least, from Daiwa, we have the smallest of the TD minnows. It's got a little weight transfer in it. This bait it's longer, but it is super slim all the way around. Very small bill. It fishes very close to the surface, but it is the dartiest, sharpest cutting of every jerkbait that I own. And this bait, when they are on the bait fish, when they're chasing, when they're active, when they're blowing up, when they're running that bait, and you're trying to stay with them and get them to react, its movements are so sharp and so aggressive that fish just lash out on it.
All right, next up, let's talk some little tiny crankbaits. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in a stream or a creek fishing for smallmouth, or you're out on the main body of a big reservoir. You know, we're talking about matching the size of the bait fish and the craws and just the stuff that these fish are eating. So if you're a guy that likes to get up shallow and burn the bank, especially, you know, when there's the shad spawn going on, or there's later in the year when there's little bait fish, little panfish, baby bluegill, baby shad up shallow. We've all seen it where those fish are just, they're nuking those fish up shallow and blowing up on the bank. Some of these baits right here, this guy right here, this is the little Megabass. That's the Griffin Bait Finesse. We have it in an SR and an MR, so 2 different depths. But again, look at the size of these. Again, with the Megabass, you're still getting their same fit and finish. You're getting how, you know, the action and just the awesome colors that they have. But you got a wide wobble, little tiny crankbait that mimics a little crawfish. It mimics a little baby shad or baby bluegill. But when they're up shallow eating on that size bait, being able to burn these little guys up shallow will produce bites when other normal sized square bills and normal sized crankbaits won't work. So 2 little awesome guys right there from Megabass, and then continuing down the line, 2 more from Demiki. This is the Disco 40. Hold it like this so you guys can see. A little shallow running bill on there. And then the Disco 38. It's a little bit deeper running crankbait. Again, it doesn't matter if you're in the creek, at a pond, at the lake, being able to have the deflection and the movement of a square bill, of a crankbait in these tiny, tiny little sizes is really key, really fun, and the fish just eat them. Now, last but not least, going even smaller, got a new one out here. It's called this is the Gnat from Bill Lewis. Again, we're talking a little tiny micro.
Smaller.
I'm getting like smaller and smaller, pinching, having to squint my eyes to show it to you guys. But again, these big bass eat stuff this small, and that was the coolest thing to realize is Matt talked about that earlier. Safe. These fish have not been caught by baits this small. Now, it might sound stupid, but it's a lot of fun. And when you hook them and you're fishing on a bait finesse rod, a bait finesse reel, they're rip and drag. It is so much fun. But these guys right here, you fish them the same way you fish your favorite square bills, your favorite crankbaits, and they produce bites.
I love this. I mean, it's going back to what I just said about the jerkbaits. In the past, we're like, I'll bet they'd eat a tiny square bill. And now we're like, we've got round bills. We've got true square bills. We've got deep divers. Right. Yeah, it is a growing category. Year to year to year, it is expanding. All right, that wraps up the hard bait portion. Again, all of the hard baits are on sale at Tackle Warehouse today. If you're watching this the day it comes out, they are on sale. We did this on purpose to help you. So we'll link everything we're talking about in the video description in the order that we talked about them, with links straight to Tackle Warehouse to each item. And we're also going to give you our favorite colors, what we throw in each item. Now, I'm going to switch over to soft baits, which are not on the sale right now, but I mean, who cares? They're not super expensive. They're some of our favorite baits. We're not going to leave them out, right? So one of my personal favorite things to do, and I know you do a ton of it as well on Bait Finesse, is that downsized presentation. And for years, I was doing like the micro Texas rig, 16th or an 1/8 ounce, and I still am. But I've also gotten lazy this last year, and I've noticed how easy it is to throw all the downsized creatures and craws on the Ned. So you've got your standard exposed Ned hook, right? But then we also have, from Z-Man, we've got that Nedlocks EWG. That's the one that got me. That's the one where I'm like, wow, this is really convenient. You just tie on one Ned head, everything's Texas rigged on there anyway, it's weedless, and the hookup ratio is still excellent. So whether you're Texas rigging, throwing weedless, or throwing an exposed hook, again, we'll link those options in the video description for you, but either way, all of these little guys are super effective. We've got 3 baits for you that are major standouts in this category. The first one from Z-Man, the TRD Craws. The TRD Craws is one of the original tiny craw baits. It's a Laztec, so it's super stretchy, comes in some amazing colors. It stands up when it's on one of these Ned heads up off of the bottom, and it has just proven itself to us over and over and over. The amount of fish that you can catch on one of those is remarkable. 2 more for you from X-Zone in their Stealth Finesse series. We have the Stealth Craw and the Stealth Creature. So the Stealth Craw is that true micro craw profile, true to life, very natural looking, amazing appearance. And when you set it up on these rigs, I mean, I grew up next to a creek, and I would go flip rocks and chase all the little crawdads around. And this thing is identical. The green pumpkin is identical in both size and color to the tiny little craws that I used to run around and chase in the creek. It just is so fishy. And then the Creature, I mean, a craw sort of speaks for itself. The Creature is a true downsized creature bait. And it's funny because we do lots of shorts and videos where we're catching fish on them, and it'll be titled like, have you tried this little creature? And then some guy will get on there and be like, man, there's 200 creatures on the market, forget that bait. I'm like, you're thinking like brush hog. You're not thinking this little guy. It is a whole different ball game. But whether you're throwing that on a Ned or a Texas rig or using it on the back of a micro jig, that tiny little creature, we all know what a Texas rig creature bait can do. A few of us know what a micro version of that can do to fish that have figured out not to eat that full-size Texas rig.
All right, couple more baits for you. Now, I've explained this in previous videos. I mean, bait finesse is so fun, it's so easy that it's all but replaced most of my spinning setups. I mean, Matt's talking about over here throwing little Texas rig creatures and little Neds and all that sort of stuff. I used to do that 100% on a spinning rod.
Yeah.
Now I do it 99.9% on a bait caster, on a bait finesse setup. It's just easier. And that includes swim baiting. Even though I'm throwing a little 1/8 ounce guppy on a 2.75 swammer or a little Kitech or whatever your favorite finesse swim bait is, being able to rear back and just send this thing, dump that spool like Matt talked about with that Spinbait 70, being able to have that same muscle memory that you have with throwing your larger swim baits, your glide baits, all that sort of stuff. It is awesome. And then you hook them up and you're on 7-pound or 6-pound fluorocarbon and you just load up and you fight them like normal. It's the same muscle memory. It is so much fun, but it's all but replaced my spinning reels. Maybe if I'm skipping a Senko or something like that, I might stay with a spinning rod. But for the most part, if I'm throwing a little swim bait, I'm throwing it on a setup, a bait finesse setup. So that little guy right there, that's an 1/8 ounce guppy head paired up with that little swammer 2.75. If you want to figure out if there are fish in the fishery you're fishing, throw this guy right here and you will find out if there's bluegill or crappie or trout or bass or cat, whatever. Everything eats a finesse swim bait. Also, this little guy right here, this is the Z-Man, the TRD gobies. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're fishing a smallmouth fishery or a fishery out west, every fishery has sculpin in them and they have this profile. So yes, if you are on a Great Lakes fishery where they have gobies, this thing gets munched. If you're out west on Clear Lake and you don't have gobies but you have sculpin, this thing gets munched. So that little guy right there, super realistic. It is a Laztec, so very durable. Pair this up on your favorite swim bait head, the little guppy head, or the little Ned locks or the Ned head over there, but that guy right there gets eaten as well. This swim bait, I'm more kind of dragging it or swimming it on bottom, closer to bottom.
Right where sculpin and a goby lives.
Right, this you could chuck and wind. You can fish it down, you can fish it everywhere in the water column, but that is my chuck and wind bait. So the swammer, the gobies, two great little finesse swim baits for this presentation. And then one more for you. I mentioned skipping a Senko earlier. It is so much fun to downsize. This is the 5-inch thin Senko by Yamamoto. You guys have all seen and heard of the Senko. This is the thin Senko. Lot less bait to it. It's a real thin, has great action. And again, whether you're wacky rigging it or Texas rigging it, this is a worm that you can throw on your bait caster, have no issues casting it weightless on that setup, and you get that same Senko action that we've all grown to love. So that guy right there is an awesome finesse presentation for bait finesse.
Why don't you throw me those lines? All right. We're not covering rods and reels today. And if you have not been tracking the whole Buyer's Guide series, you're wondering why. That's because we did an entire series of rod videos, and at a variety of price points, we talked about great bait finesse combos, so you'll want to check those out. We also did dedicated reel videos, and in that casting reel video, we gave a full breakdown of both Americanized bait finesse reels from highest price to budget, as well as JDM type bait finesse reels from highest end to budget. So that's all already been covered in this series. But the one thing that we do not want to skip over is line, because the line that you use when you're bait finesse fishing makes a huge difference. And we found a couple that have really stood out for us. If you've been watching any of our bait finesse content through the last few years, then you have watched us discover that J Fluoro Samurai, the hidden line. It's that green fluorocarbon. We have raved about this stuff. It's a fluorocarbon line, happens to be tinted green. That's neither here nor there. Here's the important part. We didn't stumble up on this. We weren't looking for a solution, right? We were just tying different lines on different reels, just playing with stuff. And over time, we noticed that this hidden FC, this hidden fluorocarbon, we were only re-spooling like a third as often as a lot of the other fluorocarbons we were using. I can't even tell you why it's lasting longer. It just held up better on the spool. What's in my hand is the 7-pound, and that is hands down, that is the core size that we're using in this hidden on our bait finesse setups, day in and day out. 7-pound is so strong that if you hook a big one, I mean, you can really apply pressure and try to get them away from cover. It's also so light that you can throw every single one of these baits on it. What I'm holding in my hand, I just got this. This will tell you how serious I am. This is a 1,000-yard spool of the 7-pound. I had gone through 4 or 5 of the filler spools, and finally I'm like, okay, this isn't a game anymore. I have made my decision. I know what the fluoro is that's going on these reels. I'm just going to get myself a big spool and be done with it. Seriously, it's that good. Now, when we're throwing bait finesse, we're either throwing braid or fluoro. A braid that has made a huge difference for both of us over the last year from Seagar is that PEX8. It's a pink and green braid, and you see it on our reels all the time. It stands out. But the reason why this braid is it is so unbelievably thin diameter for the pound strength of the line. What we mean is when you walk through a tackle shop and you'll see, 8-pound, 8-pound, 8-pound from all the different brands. If you ever take a day sometime, ignore that number, look at the diameters as you go across the brands, and you're going to find that some of those 8-pounds are twice as thick as some of the others. Seriously. So it's not apples to apples. It's not a fair comparison. These companies just make these things up. So a company will have a reputation for a super strong line. Well, yeah, because it's 20 pounds, but they just don't tell you that. And you're falling for it. So understanding the diameter is more critical than strength, especially when we're talking about truly finesse applications. This line is so unbelievably thin. We're normally throwing 6, 8, 10-pound braid on bait finesse. And when I go to this stuff, I'm using a lot of like 18 and even the 21 sometimes, because it's so thin that it is that much thinner than all the other lines that my line is still the same diameter as what I'm used to using, but now it's just way stronger as an added bonus, which also makes it easier to tie my connection knots in when I'm throwing leaders on it. An amazing line. Now, of course, all of those things don't sound like I'm adding up to a budget line, right? It's not a budget line. It's a line that you'll pay for, but braid on a bait finesse spool, unless you go and just grenade your reel, that braid will be on there a very, very long time. This is not something you're re-spooling weekly, monthly, maybe not even annually, right? It's a line that you put on a spool and it's there for a very long time.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add is, Matt's talking about 7-pound, and we both have come to that 7. It's not even a traditional size line that we grew up using.
Not at all.
It usually went 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, right down the line. But that 7-pound, it's a unique size. It sounds small, but it is so strong. If you get hung up and you're trying to pop it, you will be surprised. At least I was shocked how much straight pull action I could put towards that line trying to pop it, and eventually having to just like pop it. It is insanely strong. So even though it says 7, these fish, you're not going to be breaking off. You're using lighter rods, lighter reels, less drag. That 7 is really key.
All right, guys, with that, we are going to wrap up the Bait Finesse Buyer's Guide for you. We have got another one for you tomorrow. Remember, these videos are rolling 7 days a week right now. If by chance this is the first Buyer's Guide you picked up, you missed the first 15. So you need to go back a couple of weeks and catch them every single day. But we'll link some of the highlights in the video description as well to help you find some of those videos. But again, we'll see you again bright and early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we are talking storage, storing your rods, storing your baits, all of your tackle. Whether you're storing it on the boat, whether you're traveling, whether you're storing it at home, the ways that we do that, because organizing tackle is really important to our fishing. We have gone down the rabbit hole for years with it. We found some great options that will help you. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you then.
See you guys.